grown up with the salt of the ocean in his hair and the sound of waves as his lullaby. His earliest memories were not of toys or city streets, but of the creak of wooden boats in the rough, calloused hands of Uncle Pepe, the fisherman who had raised him. Pepe was not his father by blood, but by choice, and to Rening, that meant more. "Rening, the sea is like a friend," Pepe often said, his deep voice rolling like thunder. "But she is also a test. If you respect her, she will feed you. If you challenge her without care, she will remind you who is stronger." Every morning, before the first light touched the horizon, Pepe and Rening pushed their small banca into the dark waters. The boy, lean and curious-eyed, learned quickly how to mend a net, how to read the currents, how to smell the air for hints of a storm. He adored the sea, though sometimes, late at night, he wondered about its secrets. For Pepe often told stories, of spirits in the waves, of glowing lights that guided sailors, of storms that seemed alive. On one particular evening, after days of heavy rains, the horizon looked strange. Clouds towered like gray mountains, and the wind carried a warning. Pepe squinted at the sky. "Storm's coming, boy," he muttered, tying the nets tight. "We'll ride her out." Rening's heart thumped. He wasn't afraid of storms, not exactly. He had weathered many with Pepe. But this storm felt different. The air itself seemed alive, prickling his skin like sparks. By nightfall, they were far from shore, surrounded by an angry sea. Lightning forked across the sky, turning the black water into sudden silver. Rening held the ropes tight, his knuckles white. Pepe's steady hands never faltered on the tiller. "Hold fast!" he shouted above the roar. "The sea tests us, but we'll endure." It was then that Rening noticed it, a faint glow at the tip of the mast. At first he thought it was lightning caught in the wood. But no, the storm's flashes were harsh and violent. This glow was soft, almost gentle. A blue flame, flickering yet steady, danced at the highest point of the boat. "Uncle!" Rening cried, pointing upward. Pepe's eyes flicked to the mast. For a moment, his face, usually firm and unshaken, softened into something like awe. "St. Elmo's fire," he whispered, almost reverently. "A sign from the sea." Rening had heard of it in stories. Fishermen spoke of ghostly lights that crowned their ships during storms. Some said it was a blessing, guiding them to safety. Others warned it was a spirit, testing their courage. The glow brightened, casting a pale, magical light across their weathered faces. Rening felt his fear melt into wonder. It wasn't frightening at all, it was beautiful, like the sea itself was alive, watching them. "Why does it appear?" Rening asked, his voice trembling between curiosity and awe. Pepe's lips curved into a small smile. "Some say it's the spirit of Saint Erasmus, guarding sailors from the storm. Others say it's the soul of the sea herself, reminding us she holds the power. I cannot tell you which is true. But boy, I do know this, when the fire comes, you must listen." "Listen? To what?" "To what the sea is trying to tell you." The storm howled louder, but to Rening, the sound shifted. Beneath the crash of waves and the groan of wood, he heard something else, faint, like a whisper in the wind. The blue fire seemed to hum, its glow pulsing in rhythm with the sea. "Uncle," Rening breathed, "I think it's calling to us." Pepe gave him a long look. "Aye. And one day, you'll need to decide whether to follow." The boy's heart raced. Follow the light? Into the storm? Into the unknown? The idea both terrified and thrilled him. He clutched the ropes tighter, eyes never leaving the blue flame above. The sea was no longer just a friend or a test. Tonight, it was something more, a mystery opening before him. And for the first time in his young life, Rening felt that the ocean itself was watching him, waiting to see what kind of man he would become. The glow burned brighter still, and the storm roared around them. But in Rening's chest, a new spark had been lit, a fire that would change everything. The storm did not ease. If anything, it grew more furious, as though the ocean itself had decided to challenge the little fishing boat. The waves rose higher than a house, crashing down with such force that every plank of the vessel groaned in protest. The salty spray stung Rening's eyes, and his arms ached from clinging to the ropes, but he refused to let go. Above, the flame still burned, blue and unwavering. Rening could not look away from it. Unlike the lightning, it did not slash or frighten. Instead, it glowed like a beacon, as though it wanted to lead them somewhere. Uncle Pepe. Rening shouted over the howl of the wind. Why doesn't it go out? Pepe's weathered face was wet with rain, but his eyes were steady. Because it isn't of this world, boy. It stays until it has done its work. The word sent a shiver through Rening's heart. Done its work? What work could a flame have? He stared harder, and for the briefest moment, he thought he saw shapes in the glow, a hand reaching, a wave curling not in anger but in invitation. A sudden crack split the night. One of the side nets had snapped loose, tangling in the water and dragging the boat sideways. The vessel lurched violently. Rening nearly lost his footing. Pepe wrestled with the tiller, muscles straining. Rening! Pepe bellowed. Get that net free or we'll capsize. Rening's stomach twisted. The net was half overboard, thrashing like a wild animal in the raging current. If he went after it, he could be pulled into the sea. Yet if he didn't, the boat might go under, and both he and Uncle Pepe would be swallowed by the storm. The boy's pulse hammered in his ears. The glow above flickered, brighter now, as if urging him on. He drew a sharp breath, whispered a prayer, and lunged toward the net. The deck was slick, and his small body was tossed like a rag doll against the rail. Cold water slapped his face, nearly stealing his breath. But his fingers caught the rope, rough, frayed, cutting into his skin. Hold fast! Pepe roared, his voice deep as the thunder. Rening wrapped the rope around his arm, braced his bare feet against the deck, and pulled with all his strength. The net fought him, dragging hard, but he imagined the blue flame above lending him strength. He pictured it wrapping around his arms, guiding his muscles, filling him with light. Bit by bit, he managed to haul the sodden net back over the rail. His arms burned, his chest heaved, and for a moment he thought he would collapse. But then, with one last surge, the net spilled onto the deck. The boat righted itself, rocking steady once more. Rening collapsed against the wood, gasping, his body trembling from both effort and fear, but above him, the glow pulsed gently, almost approvingly. Pepe's heavy hand landed on his shoulder. You did well, boy. Better than some grown men I've sailed with. Rening looked up at his uncle, the words burning into his heart like fire. He had never wanted anything more than to make Pepe proud. And tonight, for the first time, he felt he had truly earned his place on the sea. But the storm was not yet done with them. A massive wave loomed, higher than the rest, curling like a mountain of black water. The flame on the mast shone even brighter, casting a strange glow across the raging sea. Rening's breath caught. Within the wave's dark belly, he saw shapes, not tricks of lightning this time, but living shadows, vast creatures gliding through the water, their eyes glowing faintly blue. He blinked hard. Uncle, do you see that? Pepe squinted, his face unreadable. I see the sea showing you her secrets. Not every man is given the chance. The wave crashed, drenching them, but the vision remained etched in Rening's mind. Giants of the deep, watching. Testing. Perhaps even guiding. The flame hummed, its glow steady, as though telling him this was only the beginning. Rening clutched the rail, his young heart pounding with fear and wonder. He had survived his first trial, but he sensed many more waited in the storm's embrace. The storms roared thin into a strange music, a low humming that wove through wind and wave like a hidden melody. Rening lifted his face to the mast. The St. Elmo's fire wasn't just burning now, it was singing. Each pulse of blue light answered the sea's rhythm, like a lantern voice speaking in notes instead of words. Uncle, Rening shouted, it's guiding. Pepe did not look away from the tiller. Then listen harder than you fear, boy. Lightning split the horizon. In that flash, Rening saw them clearly, a pod of dolphins leaping off the bow, their fins traced with faint blue lines. When the darkness closed, the mast flame brightened, and the dolphins called out in sharp, musical cries. They weren't playing, they were leading. Follow, Rening whispered. The banka angled after them, and suddenly the boat rode smoother, as if the water itself shifted to help them. The dolphins curved into a crescent, parting swells that would have slammed them broadside. For the first time that night, Rening felt the sea was on their side. A cry broke through the storm, lower, heavier than dolphin or gull. Rening leaned over the rail and saw a giant paukin, an old sea turtle, thrashing in a tangle of ghost net. Its shell glowed faintly blue, eyes locking on his. She's trapped. Rening cried. If she sinks us, we sink too, Pepe warned. Then, more gently, cut her free, and both of you live. Rening grabbed a knife, crawled forward, and hacked at the ropes. Waves slammed him, the net bit his skin. Time your cuts. Pepe roared. Rening looked to the dolphins. They leapt in rhythm, 1, 2, 3. He matched their count, slice, 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 until the final strand parted. The paukin surged free, brushing her shell against the hull as if in thanks. Floating beside her drifted a worn scale, smooth as stone, faintly glowing. Rening scooped it up. It was warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. For luck, he whispered. For a reminder, Pepe corrected. Luck fades. Remembrance keeps you straight. But the sea wasn't finished. The boat suddenly dragged, heavy with their long line catch below. If they kept it, the next crosswave would roll them. If they cut it loose, they'd lose their week's food. Rening clutched the shell scale, heard the dolphins call, saw the turtle vanish into the deep. He knew the truth. With a sharp breath, he sliced the line. The fish sank away, but the boat rose light and true, riding clean over the swell. Pepe glanced at him, pride flickering in his storm-lined eyes. He said nothing. He didn't need to. Then the sea revealed more. Beneath the hull, a manta ray glided up, its wings traced in glowing constellations. It bowed once, and the mast flame bowed back. The dolphins circled, the paukin resurfaced, and the blue fire braided them all together. In that harmony, Rening heard it clearly at last: guide, guard, give. The manta dove ahead, leading toward a gap in the reef. Rocks jutted like black teeth, yet the dolphins pointed, the ray carved a path, and the fire sharpened into a thread of light. Pepe held the tiller steady. The banka scraped coral once, sparks flew blue, not orange, and then they burst through, out into an eerie calm. Above them, the clouds swirled into a vast circle, the storm's eye. The mast flame crowned the boat like a halo. The manta hovered below, the dolphins fanned out, the paukin floated beside. It was no longer storm, it was procession. Rening pressed the glowing scale to his chest. Is the test done? Pepe shook his head, voice hushed. No, boy. This is only the gate. The calm inside the storm's eye was uncanny. The sea lay smooth as glass, yet a towering wall of clouds circled them, rumbling with slow, hidden thunder. At the center, the mast blue fire thinned into a single star of light, pointing at a dark opening in the wall. Pepe's grip on the tiller tightened. The Tempest Gate, he said, voice low. Few ever see it. Fewer return. Rening's heart pounded. The dolphins lingered at the rim, unwilling to enter. The paukin drifted back. Only the manta ray glided forward, glowing wings stretched wide like a guardian. They crossed the threshold, and the world changed. Darkness swallowed everything, no stars, no lightning, only roaring wind. Even the St. Elmo's fire dimmed, an ember clinging to the mast. Rening clutched the turtle scale at his chest, its faint warmth the only comfort. Uncle, I can't see. Pepe's voice was calm but firm. Then use what the sea gave you, heart, not eyes. Rening closed his eyes. Amid the chaos, he felt it, the pulse of the ember above, the rhythm of the scale in his hand, the subtle current shifting beneath the hull. They were threads, weaving him forward. Suddenly the storm gathered into form. From the black rose a colossal figure, its body made of clouds, eyes burning blue like twin suns. Its voice was thunder. Who dares the Tempest Gate? Rening froze. Pepe stood tall, unafraid. We are a fisherman and his boy. We bring no treasure but respect, no weapon but love for the sea. The storm's eyes fixed on Rening. And the boy? What does he bring? Rening's throat went dry. He looked at the glowing scale in his hand, the gift of the turtle, proof of mercy, his most precious token. He wanted to keep it, yet deep inside he knew, this was the price. I bring what I can give, he said, voice shaking but true. What is not mine to hold? The storm leaned closer. Show me. Rening's chest ached as he opened his hand. The glowing scale floated on the water, then sank slowly, leaving trails of blue light. For a heartbeat, he thought the sea would swallow them whole. Then the giant figure stilled. Courage. Give in. Respect. Prove in. Pass. The storm split apart, forming a tunnel of wind and water. The St. Elmo's fire flared brighter than ever, crowning the mast with blazing blue. The manta dove ahead, dolphins rejoined, and the Podkin surfaced one last time, escorting them like guardians. The banka surged forward, carried by currents too strong for oars. Spray turned to sparks of light where it touched the hull, as if the ocean itself honored them. Pepe leaned close to Rening, his eyes proud and steady. Tonight, you became more than my boy. Tonight, the sea claimed you as her son. Rening could not answer. His throat was tight with emotion, his heart still glowing with the gift he had surrendered. All he could do was hold fast to the tiller with Pepe and watch as the path of light carried them toward the unknown beyond the gate. The tempest gate released them like a breath held too long. One moment, the banka thundered through a tunnel of wind and spray, the next, they burst into a vast stillness. The sea stretched smooth and endless beneath a sky swept clean of storm, where stars burned sharp and countless. The St. Elmo's fire had changed. No longer a wild flame, it shimmered softly atop the mast, gentle as a lantern guiding them home. Its light bathed Rening's face, and he felt warmth spread through him, not heat, but peace. Pepe set the tiller straight. The sea has tested us, he said quietly. And you, boy. You listen. Rening touched his chest where the turtle scale had once rested. He felt the emptiness of its loss, but also the truth it left behind. Giving had not made him smaller. It had made him stronger. As if to seal that thought, the dolphins returned, leaping in silver arcs across the bow. The manta glided once beneath the keel, glowing lines fading like constellations dimming at dawn. Far off, the Podkin surfaced, lifted her ancient head, then vanished into the deep. Allies who had come when needed, and left when their part was done. Rening smiled faintly. Will we see them again? Pepe's weathered face softened. If the sea calls you, boy, they will answer. But remember, guides are only gifts. The choice to act is always yours. The banka drifted steady under the starlight. Rening looked back once. The wall of storm was gone, dissolved into the horizon as if it had never been. Only the memory of the gate remained, bright and heavy in his heart. Hours passed in quiet sailing. The wind gentled, the sea smoothed. Rening's eyelids grew heavy, though he fought to stay awake, afraid the glow might vanish if he closed his eyes. Pepe noticed and chuckled low. Rest now. The sea is calm. She's watching over us. But what if the fire fades? Rening murmured. It will, Pepe said. All lights fade. What matters is the fire you keep here. He tapped the boy's chest. That's the flame no storm can put out. Rening finally let his eyes close. He dreamed of blue light winding like a river through the sea, of dolphins carving paths, of a turtle freed, of a manta winging across the stars. He dreamed not of fear, but of belonging, of being the sea's son. When dawn broke, the banka reached the quiet shore. The village still slept, unaware of the night's wonders. Pepe carried the nets ashore, his back strong despite the long storm. Rening followed, his heart alight with a secret too large for words. He glanced back at the mast one last time. The St. Elmo's fire was gone, but the wood still shimmered faintly, as though touched by memory. He smiled, knowing the flame lived on in him. Uncle Pepe's hand settled firmly on his shoulder. Come, boy. The sea has given us her lesson. Now we give back by living it. And so they walked into the morning, fisherman and son, carrying the light of the storm within them.